Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of your Brains Coach podcast. My name is Angela Shurina. I'm your host, I'm your Brains Coach, and it is my job here to bring to you fun, most effective, recent, most useful, and sometimes creative and definitely applicable to your life brain body tools so you could take better control of your body, of your brain, of your thoughts, emotions, and most importantly, actions so you could build the life that you absolutely love living. So you allow your best self to shine through with all its talents. So your best self lives every day more and more and more compared to our not so best self or not so good self. Not sure how to phrase that. But guys, this morning I was walking back from the gym and I met a neighbor of mine and she was walking her dogs and we started talking. And she's like, well, you know why I love walking dogs in the morning? Because then she works from home. And she said, it starts my day. I also do some housework, like doing some housework in the morning because it makes me feel more motivated and I get a lot more done and I feel more productive and effective during my day. And I told her, yes, that's why I like going somewhere at first thing in the morning as well. And for me, it's also I found what works better when I do something hard. If I go for a walk, then an uphill walk or just faster walk. If I go and work out, then, it's a workout. So that's kind of hard in most cases. Because for the rest of the day, after this beginning, I do feel better. And I do more and I feel more creative and I feel like approaching more challenges and getting a lot more done and also being more proactive, being more of a leader in my own life. And by the way, guys, it's not a coincidence that most people after morning movement feel a lot better and make better choices and do better work. It's not a coincidence that all of the people share this experience, like my friend Oma and like it's no coincidence. When you move, your brain grooves. What it means is your brain actually starts producing different molecules like dopamine, endorphin, or norepinephrine, or adrenaline, serotonin, like everything that your brain does gets done better. But then also, for example, dopamine, when you produce more of it, you feel driven, motivated. Molecule of dopamine actually is nicknamed the molecule of motivation because it is produced when you need to move, when you have the desire to do something. It makes you move. And exercise, when you do exercise, and also movement of all sorts, makes your brain produce more of it. And then it overflows into the rest of activity of your day. And so you do feel more active when you move more. In my favorite coffee shop today, Sabani, who just joined the gym, asked me, well, what do you do when you feel lazy? And do you feel lazy? Do you feel like not going to the gym sometimes? I'm like, yes, I do. And I still go to the gym because I know how it makes me feel after. So I'm never asking, should I go? Should I not go? Well, sometimes if I feel really weak and if I get sick, I haven't been sick for a while, thanks God. But if I do feel on a weaker side, then I just scale down. But I still do the routine because I know that after that, our body, our brain work that way, wired that way. After that, I'm going to feel a lot more motivated and driven and empowered to take action. And that produces better quality of my days. And also dopamine is a molecule of curiosity, of learning, of exploration, of being a fun kind of Angela or, whatever your name is. I don't know all of your names, all folks on the other side of the microphone all around the world. But yes, it's going to make your better self, your best self, come out and feel better and take control of your life. Today's short podcast episode. Now let's dig into our podcast episode. We're going to talk about three main tools for you to change your habits, faster, to change habits you don't like, what we call bad habits. But it's actually, no habit is bad. Just some habits produce results that we don't really like. But all habits are designed to make you feel better. And it's just some habits, like for example, eating suboptimal or junky foods, don't work well long term, and we get fatter or get disease or low in energy, etc. So officially, there are no good bad habits, but just some habits do not produce long-term results that we want, and we'd like to change them. So today's is about that, giving you a very practical tools how to change habits faster and how to very often do less work and make them more challenging, make the change less challenging, not more challenging. Make a change of habits less challenging with less suffering and more like fun and enjoyment even perhaps. And also today, you're going to learn how to do the right kind of multitasking and how to not do the wrong kind of multitasking, and to actually deliver better work more consistently instead of feeling like your plate is overflowing, like your cup is overflowing and you barely scratch the surface of what you actually want to get done, the important stuff. So let's dig in. Number one, when you try to change any habit, substitution works a lot better than quitting. Because when, for example, if you try to quit caffeine, first of all, start small. You might go to decaf and then to some coffee version with less caffeine, or depending on what you like drinking, what you like doing, and then go to something caffeine-free completely, like rooibos tea is one of my favorite. So start small, but then substitution works a lot better than quitting. The reason is your brain likes familiarity. Your brain likes familiar behavior, the same patterns. It produces a sense of calm and comfort, and that your environment is predictable. And your brain loves it because that means that your brain can predict the energy that you spend, and that means you are in a safe position to thrive in your life instead of being threatened and wasting energy, which for your brain means almost death, because you waste too much energy and you can die. The energy is the currency of life. So that's that. And when you change habits drastically, or you introduce new routines, innovation is the word of today, right? People trying to innovate and radically change things. But guess what? For your brain, it's anxiety-inducing, it's fear-inducing, it's unpredictable, uncertain, and your brain does not like that for one specific reason. Probably other reasons, but one specific reason is when new things coming, your brain doesn't know how to account for the energy that you need to spend, and your brain feels threatened, anxious, fearful, preparing you to analyze the situation that is coming and possibly to save as much energy as possible, because your brain doesn't know what's coming. And again, the energy is the currency of life. You don't have energy, you die. And your brain knows that. And during evolutionary times, there was real possibility. You waste too much energy. You don't find food to substitute that energy. You die. Right? And that's why innovation actually feels fearful. And back to our anxious, it produces resistance in people. Please understand that. So what can you do? You can introduce substitution versus quitting, because substitution feels less of a change. Like my example, I am working on my body composition right now, and I need to consume less calories. And drinking cappuccino adds additional calories that don't bring me a lot of satiety, don't make me feel full. And so I need to quit those cappuccino calories. But I love the routine of going to a coffee house or talking to the people, to my favorite baristas, to people who come in. I love the routine, the social part of it, just almost as much or probably even more than cappuccino itself. So what I do now, I go in and I have a shot of espresso that still is the same, almost the same routine, just a little bit different drink. And that allowed me to successfully get closer to reaching my goals when it comes to body composition without feeling the additional resistance to changing my habit, like I would if I were trying to quit going to a coffee shop altogether. Which sometimes that also might be a case that you want to try to quit going to coffee shops. But then my recommendation is, again, go somewhere else, do something else. So there is not unless you absolutely have to, do not create a vacuum in your brain. Substitute the habit, the behavior with something very similar. So for your brain, you introduce new pattern and you'll be like, it's almost like that, but just a little bit different. And so the less of that change you introduce, the more incremental, the more smaller steps toward the change. That, by the way, also great advice for innovation. If you want people to resist innovation less, tell them it's this. It's like Uber, but for this. It's like this, but for that. Right? You see, when you make unfamiliar more familiar, when you make the change incremental, when you substitute for something similar, your brain will produce a lot less resistance and it will be much easier for you to change your habit. So for example, if you're trying to quit social media, scrolling at night, don't just have nothing. Have some fun routine that doesn't involve scrolling. Maybe at first it's like calling your mom or talking to your partner. Introduce something that is also pleasurable, that helps you to relax, to unwind, but it's not scrolling social media. So if you want to change your habits, then a much better way to do it is substitute for a similar thing than quitting, creating vacuum, because that produces anxiety, resistance, and it gets much harder for you to actually stick with the change. Okay, now point number 2. When it's much in our world, everyone is busy. You are busy. Your plate is overloaded. You don't have more time. You got to be smarter and better about using the time that you have. Time is not stretchable. All of us have a time budget, 168 hours exactly every single week. Nobody's getting more. So please make peace with the idea. That's what I also teach all of my clients. You have a time budget, and compared to money, you cannot make more of it. It's there, and once it's gone, it's gone. So you gotta get smart about spending. Then it's like, imagine if you had the bank account that you would get only a certain amount every week. And if you don't use a certain amount per day, it would still go out. So maybe instead of wasting and it just going out on being wasted on useless stuff that you don't really appreciate or don't serve you, instead learn how to get smarter about spending that. So the same goes for your time, not stretchable 168 hours a day. Why am I telling you this? Well, because a lot of folks who want to introduce new good habits, like for example, taking more steps, which I work on with a lot of my clients. Just going to the gym 3 times per week is not enough. You need to get your steps at least 6,000. It is recommended to get 8,000 for anyone younger than 60 years old, and about 6,000 steps for anyone who is 60 year old and beyond. So instead of trying to load onto your plane more activities and get those steps in. By the way, 10,000 steps is about 1 hour, 40 minutes of walking. And need to do the calculation for every 1,000 of steps that you take. You can Google it, 1,000 steps, how many minutes it is. So instead of trying to manufacture new activity, learn how to multitask. What do I mean by that? I was watching this video on LinkedIn by one of the executives in the company that one of the goals of this company or key activities, they're trying to introduce behavioral change on scale, like for example, making people move more. And so the executive at that company was sharing how he introduced quote unquote new habit of walking more without actually creating a habit. So what he did, instead of taking an elevator, he's starting taking stairs. Obviously, if you need to go to 10th floor, it might not be applicable all the time, but I don't see the reason why you cannot use a staircase for the part of your journey, for a couple or 3 flight of stairs, and then the rest you can travel by the elevator. Or for example, when you travel by bus, by train, why not get off one stop earlier and walk the rest of the way? Why not take Uber a little bit further away, that I often do, from your destination to get those steps in? So instead of trying to manufacture a whole new activity, a whole new 1 hour, 30 minutes or 40 minutes or 1 hour of walking on top of what you already do, that might not be doable for you, because again, everyone's busy. Your schedule is probably already all scheduled and all distributed for different activities. So instead of trying to introduce additional activity for any habit, just do what you already do in a different way that works better for your goals. Like for that executive at Vitality Discovery, is the company here in South Africa. I believe they actually global. So they help their Vitality members, that's what they call them, to introduce manageable changes, to move more, to eat better, etc. So like that executive at Discovery, you can just take more stairs. And again, it doesn't have to be all the way to the 10th floor. If that's the case, it can be just additional 2-3 flights of stairs. And then the rest you can take the elevator, or again, get off the train or get off Uber a little bit earlier. And the same comes to, for example, eating habits. If you want to eat better, it's as simple as choosing different foods and making them convenient and available. It's often choosing to order a different thing if you use Uber Eats, or if you go to a restaurant, eat lunches. Just familiarize yourself, learn about what those choices are, what are the better choices in your situation, and what is available where you eat. And maybe there is a shop of, coffee shop, lunch spot across the street from where you go now, which has much better choices. Or maybe you sign up for food delivery. Like I always tell my clients, you gotta eat somehow. So why not just make different choices? And back to our first habit, just substitute what you do. That is the easiest way to start, with better things. Obviously, you're not going to starve, but just start small. Substitute your side of maybe French fries for vegetables, or maybe boiled potato. That is much better. And by the way, has the 3 times less calories than fried potatoes, just because all this oil is getting absorbed into your food. Like literally, boiled potato is about 80 something calories per 100 grams. And then you have French fries at about 200 something calories, right? So that makes a difference. So make those substitutions. Don't reinvent the wheel. Don't put more on your plate. Yes, initial change might take a little bit of research, like what are the healthier eating spots, or what are the other menu options at Uber, at the place where you order, right? So initial thing might take a little bit more time, but then it's going to be the same thing. You're going to be eating something, so might as well eat better thing. The goal is not to starve yourself. The goal is to eat different foods. That's it. So that is the second most popular, most effective advice and tip for changing habits, changing any behavior. You don't add more onto your schedule, onto your workload. You change the things that you already do. You already do something. And that actually brings me to the right kind of multitasking, right? If you do a lot of calls during your day, Tim Ferriss recently introduced this new format of interviewing his guests. They would both remotely go for a walk and they talk over their devices, and Tim would record their conversation. I'm not sure how it's done technically, but basically he and his guest both walk and they talk and they record a podcast. So multitasking, you walk and you do something productive. If you do a lot of calls, why not suggest to the other party to take some calls while walking? I even did Zoom conferences and learning experiences while walking. there were like 2-3 hour events, and I'm like, there is no way I'm going to be sitting for 2-3 hours listening to that. So I just took my phone with Zoom on it for a walk, and I told the participants that's what I was doing. So why not do that? Or while perhaps taking a train, taking an Uber, why don't do some emails, some reading, learning, whatever you need to do. So that's, by the way, the multitasking done the right way. So you might also ask, what is the right way for multitasking? But that also goes back to the idea, if you need to do more walking, figure out the things that you can do while walking. Multitasking done the right way. This is the third useful and practical point of today to improve your productivity. So multitasking done the right way means you choose one task that is an autopilot kind of task. Like, for example, walking. Just make sure that you walk on a safe path and you don't endanger yourself or other people. Other than that, you can combine walking, this autopilot task, with, for example, doing some calls. You might do personal calls that you never have the time to do, connecting with your friends, with your family, with your loved ones. You can do business calls. Actually, movement improves the way your brain works, and also you are more creative, back to the dopamine that boosts creativity. You produce more ideas, and you are much in a better mood, position, and state to think about innovation and new things and creation and moving forward into the future. You're in that mood while walking. That's why it's also so amazing to do calls. You're in the more proactive mode. So even if somebody delivers you bad news, you're in a state where you are much more likely to appraise it positively and also to start figuring out solutions instead of ruminating on why it happens and what you're going to do now in this quote-unquote negative situation. So the point is, back to the point of productivity, the right kind of productivity combines the autopilot task and then the task that requires thinking, like, for example, doing brainstorming for the podcast or the upcoming workshop or class that I would often do. I do an hour of walking every night. And so on the days when I need to prepare for my talks, for my workshops, for anything really, I go for a walk where I don't bump into anything and there are no cars, no traffic, where I can really be in my mind while walking. And I do what Cal Newport, the author of Deep Work and Recently Slow Productivity, calls productive walking. I believe that's how he calls it. And I've been doing that for a long time now. So I would walk and brainstorm all the ideas, having my phone with the note app open, sometimes recording my voice notes. I would walk and do this brainstorming. And by the time I would come back in that hour, I would have structure laid out in my brain and in that note, which I then will email myself, edit, and then start creating presentation from that. For voice notes, you can also use voice recognition, and so that hour can be really productive. So that is the right kind of productivity. One autopilot activity and then one activity that you have to think about. The wrong kind of productivity that I also tried, or the wrong kind of, not productivity, but multitasking, is when you work on cognitively demanding tasks, like, for example, me doing or creating a presentation from all of the concepts that I have in my head and working on a client's request assignment, like a workshop we need to do together. And me trying to do that, and then at the same time trying to check my social media or email, interrupting myself in the middle. I tried that, and then it takes forever and your brain still cannot figure out how to put it all together. So that's the wrong kind of multitasking. And research shows that when people try to do that, all of us, we on average, when measured in tests, not by your subjective thinking, because subjectively getting out of your mind and telling yourself how well you do, it doesn't work. Research proves that. So in research, they learned that when people try to do that kind of multitasking, the task takes on average 50% more time. So think, instead of 2 hours, it will take you 4 hours at best. And then you also make about 50% more mistakes. So that will require a lot more editing and reviewing and redoing. So that probably also will add on your plate additional time for doing the same task. So let's say instead of 2 hours, now you have 6 hours, and it's going to spread out 3 days instead of one morning, one deep focused morning. So that's the wrong kind of multitasking that I also did. I'm like, this does not work. So shut down your phone, put it in the airplane mode, out of sight, out of mind, put it in some cardboard because in some drawer, somewhere where you don't see it, because research also shows that when your brain sees it and it's understandable, it's a trigger. Your brain is aware of your phone. Now, when you see your phone, you usually check your phone, you usually scroll social media, you chat with people, right? Your brain knows that. And so when your eyes see the phone, that's the thought that comes into your mind that prompts the action. So for that not to happen, you take your phone and put it under your pillow and you start working on the objective for the next 2 hours. That actually makes you more effective. So you think, well, I'm multitasking, I'm doing a lot more. No, you're not. You're wasting your time and you're not present for any of the tasks. And that's, by the way, a note to myself as well. And then it takes longer doing the same task. You know when my most productive days happen? Do you know when? When I'm successfully, and these days it's probably around 80% of the time in this mode, sleep ups sometimes happens to all of us. So I'm the most productive when I give myself a task and I break it down into step-by-step plan. And I put this note in front of myself. I put my phone into airplane mode. I hide it under the pillow and I give myself an assignment. You have water with you. The only distraction you allow yourself is going to the bathroom. And then I put this new app that I love, Brain FM, with the music that enhances your focus. And I'm at that task until it's done. And I go, and then when I need to check email, so after those, for example, 2-3 hours are done and I'm done with the task, then I check my email. And it also, by the way, takes a lot less time because okay, this needs to be replied. This is spam. This does not need to be replied. This is one word reply, etc. 20 minutes, done. And then I'm going to take my break. So that's how my most productive day happened. And I schedule the most cognitively demanding tasks, like, for example, doing a podcast in the morning when my brain is the freshest. And usually after workout, when I get all this dopamine and other brain chemicals already flowing and pumping, so I can jam and freestyle this podcast in a structured but also fun and creative way for you. So that's to the right kind of multitasking. And as the bonus for you guys, something that I've just recently rediscovered. I was going to start creating more videos with other people, and I've been going to do that for a while. And I thought to myself, I need some sort of accountability to make this happen. So at my favorite coffee shop, I texted my favorite barista, Thabani, if you're listening to this, hello to you. I texted Tabani and asked him, can you please remind me when next morning I come in for my coffee to do the video? Can you please tell me to make the video that I was going to do? And Tabani is like, yeah, sure, I'm going to do that. And the next morning, what do you know? My brain gave me all the excuse stories I needed to not do this video. It was not the right time. I didn't have the time, and there would be another time that is much better, like da-da-da-da-da-da. But then I went into the shop to say hello to my favorite baristas, and the bunny told me, Angela, weren't you going to make a video? I'm like, shoot, I wasn't time. Like, well, might as well get over with it. And so I did. And otherwise I wouldn't. And now the video is in my phone, need to edit it, and it's going to be out on my Instagram about one habit building technique. So follow me on Instagram to see that video happening real time. My Instagram is Angela Brain Body Coach, at Angela, Brain Body Coach, all one word, no spaces, underscores, or anything like that. So the point of this story is, why I'm telling you this is because our whole world, if we choose to, can be our accountability team. And you can ask people, sometimes people you know well, sometimes people you don't know well, people in your family, your friends, your neighbors, even your favorite baristas. The bunny again, hi to you. You can ask for accountability. You can ask people to remind you of your best intentions. So you can ask people that care about you, hey, can you please tell me next time we are out at this lunch spot, at dinner spot, to choose something healthy and maybe help me to choose that? Can you remind me of this, please? Or if you go to the same lunch spot, ask the waiter who you usually see many times, can you please remind me to get something healthy, something good for me next time? Can you please do that? And guess what? More often than not, unless I forget, people forget sometimes, but more often than not, they would be happy to do so. They're like, yeah, sure, I will. And they also will feel engaged and on your journey and doing something helpful and useful, helping you to do better. We love serve each other. We love help each other. So let's help each other do better. And don't forget that the whole world can be your support team if you choose to. If you commit to better change, if you ask. Asking is your superpower. Noah Kagan, thanks you for the Ask Challenge. I'm asking everyone all the time now for all the different things, and it's been a life-changing and business-changing experience. Instead of showing that I have it all figured out, well, which nobody actually does, and things are moving a lot more progressively, faster, and further. Right, so that's the bonus. If you're having troubles changing your habits, don't forget the whole world is on your support team. Just ask. So to sum it up, number one, to change your habits faster and better, substitute, do not quit, to calm your brain down and cause less resistance. Number two, don't load more on your plate, like trying to find an additional hour in your schedule. Instead, redesign your life a bit. Take a few more flights upstairs. Get off the train, the bus, Uber a little bit earlier. Do also, number three, the right kind of multitasking. Get some calls in while getting your steps in, or do productive brainstorming and walking, the right kind of multitasking, not the wrong one that actually makes you a lot less effective and productive. And the last, don't forget that if you need a little bit of help, the whole team, the whole world is your support team. Just ask. Folks, well, I feel inspired. That was one heck of a podcast. I had fun. I hope you did too, and you learned quite a bit about habit building the smart way. If you enjoyed the podcast, please give me a shout out on any social media or wherever you listen to your podcast. And it's going to be a huge woohoo for me if you share this podcast with at least one other person. We don't have any ads, probably never gonna have any ads here, but that's how our podcast reaches ears of more awesome people who want to do their best, who want to change the world for the better. So help me to spread the good stuff around. Share this podcast with at least one person. Tag me on social media, in stories, send me, an email, but share. That's the biggest, most amazing thing you can ever do for me. And besides that, change faster, change in days, not in years, with better habit building routines and strategies. If you have any questions, find me and ask them. Until next time, change in days, not in years. And don't forget, the whole world is on your support team. Just ask.